Hello, Facebook friends. Where I'm here with Pastor Mike Robinson. Basically, this is at his church that operated at as a shelter, a pop-up shelter for the homeless. It is warmer outside, so the shelter is not open. But the problems for the homeless, well, they are far from over. Pastor Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's a good day. Weather is nicer.
So you were telling me, Pastor, that the problems of the homeless may be even worse.
Yeah, this is a time that, we think that just because the weather is nice outside, that everything is just fine. But this is a time where our homeless friends are challenged the most. Weather is good, yes. They're not going to freeze to death, yes. However, they don't have a place to go.
So during the cold weather, there were so many places open that they could go to, pop-up shelters, other places that they could go to and to get out of the cold. And so there was kind of this concerted effort that was backed by the public who basically hated the fact that there were so many people out in 4-degree weather and the like, but that's not the case now, right?
No.
Your shelter is one of those that's shut down now.
Yeah, and so a lot of shelters were open and available, still not quite enough to handle the problem, but there were a lot of them open, which gave people the opportunity to be able to go inside. However, now that's not the case. There are very few. We are one of those because we are our ability to be open is partly largely because of funding that we will have. We don't have the funding to be open 24/7 like I would love to.
Right.
When we were open 24/7
right.
during the winters, the brutal cold.
Right.
That
even
was
up to a week ago. To about a week ago, you guys are open.
Right.
Early this week.
Or we opened this week too.
Yeah.
The wind was so bad and the snow and all of that. We had to open up. We would love to be able to stay open because homelessness is not seasonal. It's not a seasonal thing. And the longer that I have them inside this safe space, the more opportunities that I have to be able to work with them, to provide case management, wraparound services that dig into the root of the problem and find out how we can help them and prevent them from being in a homeless state.
So you were saying that you were able to find actual houses or apartments for some of them, right?
Yes, and that's a part of what we do. We don't look at emergency sheltering as just a Band-Aid. That's not what we are. We're not a Band-Aid, just a quick fix kind of situation. We are a solutions-oriented agency. We want to be able to help you from this emergency place that you're in and get you to a sustainable place, to put you in supported care for your situation.
And then, and we talked about it, that donations dry up when the weather gets warmer.
Yeah, and I get it. Many people are what we call situational givers. Yeah, you're going to look outside and see the snow out there, and you're going to say, absolutely, I want to give.
It's 5 degrees.
Yeah, you're going to absolutely want to give because you want to help out, and you want to make sure that, they're taken care of. But those same needs exist when it's 70 degrees outside, although they won't freeze to death, but they don't have a place to go. They are still sleeping on the sides of buildings. They're still sleeping on bus stops. They're still out in the elements. That's not a good thing.
What, if anything, what should the city be doing at this time regarding the homeless?
I think as we are preparing, as we're coming out of this cold season, I think what should be in place is a year-round shelter that provides beds to homeless individuals year-round. And then when it gets brutal and gets bitterly cold, then there are more that open up. but we do need some that are open year-round that are funded by the city. We need those so that individuals can come through there, be resourced, be given case management, and get plugged into the resources that are necessary. If we want to eliminate that high number of homeless individuals, that's a route that we're going to have to take. We're going to have to provide year-round services. I see individuals that come through our doors that I saw last year, but if they had been a part of our shelter program for a little bit longer time, we would have been able to deal with some of those things. We lose contact with them once we shut our doors, and we don't like that. We would love to be able to care for individuals year round.
Didn't we have something like that when Larry Rice had his New Life Evangelistic Center? That was a 24-hour, 24/7 shelter that was open all the time.
Yeah, Larry Rice New Life was a 24/7. I'm sorry, a year-round shelter operation. People could come every night, and that's an ideal situation. And during the day for help. So it's an ideal situation, and it's a needed.
That was a real loss when the city shut that down, wasn't it?
It was a huge loss, and it affected me because it was one of the first places as a teenager that I went to help individuals out. And to find out that they were then closed down, I couldn't wrap my mind around that. And so in response to that, that's why City Hope exists. That's why we're here, because I responded and said, this can't be. There are going to be people that are dependent upon that agency to be open that are not going to be able to get through the doors.
The city has not yet compensated for the loss of New Life, have they? It seems like the problem has gotten worse. It seems like we see more homeless out on the street since New Life Evangelistic Center shut its center down there on Locust.
Yeah, but definitely, because I mean, you're talking about I believe it was somewhere between 200 or 300 individuals that were able to be housed in that very large facility, and so.
And they had a place for women with kids, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
they had many times.
Yeah,
also. Yeah,
they had separate spaces for women and children, families, and for single men. They had those various spaces, and that's necessary. We have to look at it like that. There's various people groups that are in need of shelter space and care. Then, you also have to look at the other challenges. There are spaces that are needed for those that have mental health issues, those that have other sort of traumatic brain situations. We need spaces for all of this. There are so many causes of homelessness. We can't just group and lump them up into one group. There's various things, people with drug addictions and things like that.
But then there are people who just have had bad luck.
Absolutely.
People who just, their health goes bad.
Yeah.
They lose their job, aren't there?
We hear it.
Or just, we say a paycheck away from being homeless.
Absolutely. That's just a couple of paychecks away, or maybe even one now. And we've seen individuals like that who have lost their houses because they had to help out a mom or a dad, and they chose their parents' care over theirs. They ended up sleeping in the car, thinking that they would make it through the summer. Winter comes along, and they're still sleeping in their car, and now it's dangerously cold weather, and they have to come into a shelter.
Or parents trying to help their kids.
Yeah.
And seniors are among the fastest group filing bankruptcy.
And then you got those that live in those senior care facilities, and they can't have other individuals inside of the facility. And so it becomes a very challenging thing.
And so people, of course, have to think of the fact that anything can, one of the things I always say, anything can happen at any time, and you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And you always got to keep that in mind. Your health could go, you could lose your job, any number of things. Pastor, what more would you have liked to see this administration do? What more could they have done to help the situation? Because it seemed like a lot of it just caught this administration by surprise when we had this cold weather. It seemed like they just were not ready for it.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing because the staff are very, very seasoned. These are seasoned individuals that have worked in the field of homelessness for years. At some point, we've got to stop being reactive in this situation and be more proactive. You know that winter is coming. You know that we have a shortage of beds. Let's put something in place. Let's create something such as another entity, like Biddle House, which can house up to 100 men in that facility. Why not create something for women and children? We've missed out on several opportunities, Elliot.
How do you mean, Reverend?
With things like these schools, abandoned schools. We let these schools rot and deteriorate within our communities and become eyesores, when we could have passed on these schools that have great opportunities to be able to shift things and be able to, put something in there, even if you only use a portion of it.
Would it have just been easier just to let Larry Rice reopen his building?
It would
Rather than
absolutely.
try to
It would absolutely.
renovate a school or something like that.
However,
Right.
it would be easy. It would have been very much easier. However, you got a school next door. You got a couple of schools now, and then you got the neighbors who are voicing their opinions and saying, not in my backyard. This is not what I want. Forgetting that building had been there for over 40-something years, and they've been running that ministry out of that building. Before they moved in, he was there.
We're going to have an election April 8th. What are you hoping that either if the current mayor is reelected or if Carol Spencer gets in, what would you like to see?
What I want to see is that whoever comes into office are the individuals that will care for the unhoused community, that will provide the necessary resources in a proactive manner, and will help us to build what is needed, to create what is needed to be able to take care, to put a system in place so that every year when winter comes, there is a plan, a strategic plan in place that will address the needs of the homeless community.
You were hoping to see that from Mayor Tashara Jones. Did you see it?
No. We saw a very reactive response. We saw a retired news reporter who addressed the issue long and hard enough, and then along with that retired reporter came Old Man Winter and beat down on us, and had to respond by putting a bus out there, which is something that should have been done a long time ago.
And that bus was only out there 2 hours.
And
it was only out there just for a week.
And we knew that bus was a great response and a great help to be able to navigate individuals to safe shelters. We knew that was a great response, but they didn't want to model that program.
It was a shock that they did not do that. But you're hoping after April 8th, whoever is sitting in that mayor's office, you're hoping they have a different view.
Definitely.
And do some advanced planning and maybe sit down with yourself and other people who are helping the homeless.
Yes, bring those that are out there, those that are working. There are several key leaders that are out there working, and my hat's off to my colleagues who worked their butts off this winter. Andre Cole, Mike Avery, Audra, and Amanda, Larry Rice,
Evangelistic Center.
So many individuals out there that helped to make this winter helpful. Anthony D'Agostino with Peter and Paul. These are people that were out there that are making things happen, several of them even behind the scenes. I just have to happen to have a great relationship with a friend who helps us to put this word out there. It's a lot of individuals that help to make this happen. St. Louis Winter Outreach Team, amazing. amazing group of people that work tirelessly year after year to ensure that our homeless friends are taken care of.
We ended up working together back in 2017 or so.
Yeah, when we
You and I,
were
yeah.
addressing that need, 2017,
During the winter?
Larry Rice closed down.
Yep.
And we opened up our doors as a pop-up. I mean, literally, we popped up.
And I think I was out there doing Facebook Lives every night.
Yes, to
This is
show
like deja vu.
show the need, show the need, and show what could be done. So since 2017, we've been doing this, and we'll continue to do this. I've pledged, and my congregation has pledged, that no matter what building we are in, that there will always be a space that is dedicated to housing homeless individuals. We're going to do that. We're going to make sure that that happens with funding or without funding. If we have to do fish fries and chicken dinners, we're going to make sure that the shelter is in this building and that our unhoused friends are taken care of.
You did it in 20, you and others, 2017 without city funding.
Yeah.
And this year and 2024, with this winter, you had to do it again without city
Did it
funding.
again, and
With the
community
donations.
members have rallied around us. I will say, hey, you're billed a little bit behind, so please remember us as you are. We're still waiting on the rest of February's bills to come in. Please consider us and the impact that those bills made on us. It's still some debt that has to be taken care of.
Give them the way they can contact you.
You can always reach out to us through our website, www.cityhopestl.org. There's a donate button on there that gives you several ways to donate. One of them is through Givelify, and that is City Hope St. Louis or Hope Nation International Church. Or you can go to our Cash App, $ City Hope STL.
Can they look you up on Facebook?
Yep, we're there. We have a strong presence on
Under
Facebook
what?
under City Hope St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, reach out to us, help us out. We need it. We want to make sure that the church is not left in debt. We of course, we're going to do what we got to do, but we would love the support. And St. Louis has, you guys have rallied around us.
People really did come through.
For real. They really did.
Because we were here, we were doing Facebook Lives, and people were sending in a couple dollars.
Yeah. And when you're housing 15, 20, 25 people a night, that's a lot. That takes a lot. That takes a lot of food. That takes a lot of toilet tissue, paper towels, soap, all kind of toiletries and hygiene things, because we have showers here, towels, washcloth. All of that costs a lot of money, and you guys help to make that happen, and I am grateful, and I appreciate what you all have done.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Elliot. You always come through, and we appreciate it.
It's always good working with you.
Yes, sir.
Because
Thank
you're
you.
out there no matter what.
No matter what.
And
Yeah.
you said you're going to be there, too.
If it snows tomorrow, the doors are open.
Okay, thank you, Pastor. And so thank you, Facebook friends. Like I said, we started doing this back in 2017 with a bad winter, a different mayor. And we took up that torch this winter also with these really cold days where the temperatures were down at 0 degrees and 4 degrees, and with the wind chill below 0. And we had this shelter open and some of the others open. And you guys dug deep. And we're out here doing Facebook Lives, calling for donations. And a lot of you dug deep and came through with donations that kept this shelter going and kept the other operations going, urban services, St. Louis Winter Outreach, and a lot of the other organizations that you guys gave to that made it possible for this shelter and others to keep going. You guys really dug deep because the city didn't. The city did not come through. They were not giving to this group, this church. They were not giving to a lot of the other organizations that Andre Cole's organization. they weren't giving to a lot of those other organizations that were out here each and every day doing the work, taking care of the homeless in the city of St. Louis. But we could not get this administration, Tashara Jones administration, to do more, despite our best effort. You'll know I spent the whole winter pleading for her to put a warm-up bus out, and days that it was 4 degrees and lower, and just ridiculously cold temperatures. And it wasn't until I think the week that the woman was found dead on the heating vent that the administration put a bus out that week, and the bus only stayed open for 2 hours a night, which is not nearly good enough. I was making the case that the bus, on the times when it was 4 degrees during the day, then that bus should have been out there in the afternoon. And I often compared this mayor with her predecessor, Tashara Jones, who had often 2 buses out there. And they would put the bus out in the afternoon, warm-up bus out in the at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. The bus would stay there all evening long, and they'd have city workers there from human services to help the homeless deal with and interface with the city. And so Lyda Cruzen did certainly a lot more. We could not get Mayor Tashara Jones to do more that needed to be done. They fell down on the job in terms of dealing with the homeless and providing more help for the homeless. But any event, we're going to have an election on April 8th. We shall see what happens at that point, but whether Tashara Jones gets in or Kara Spencer gets in, we would certainly like to see who's ever the next mayor do more than was done this past winter, because that fell woefully short of the mark. I am, of course, going to stay on this, my Facebook friends, and again, thank you guys, because it wouldn't have worked without you and all the donations that you sent and food and everything else that you kicked in and provided, and the money that you guys dug in and sent to keep this shelter going and keep the other operations going, because that was essential. Like I said, they weren't getting help from the city, and so it all had to come from you guys. And you guys felt it in your heart. God put it on your heart to be active and to give week after week and make it happen. And you guys did that when we made the call. There were people who gave like $2,000, I think. But whether it was $5, $10, $50, or $2,000, every bit of it was necessary. And many of you brought by food and everything just to keep it going so that the homeless wouldn't be out in the bitter cold. So we thank you guys and everything you did, my Facebook friends.